So, just kidding. Welcome back. I'm so excited that you're back for round 2 of the Shelby Show. And today we're going to talk about systems. So I have a ton of real estate agent systems that I want to talk to you guys about over the next freaking 50 weeks that I've committed to talking to you. But I thought about it and I just could not skip ahead. I could not pass up the opportunity to talk about the #1 most important system of all, which is your daily routine. Okay, let's hit it. So if you're a successful agent, your day probably looks like waking up and thinking like, this shit has got to be better than yesterday. And then you grab your phone and you have like 127,000 notifications, whether they're emails, texts, missed calls, voicemails, DMs, Instagram, Facebook, all of the things. And then it's fire after fire, emergency after emergency, ping, 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 ping. Feel a wave of anxiety that just crushes you. From there, the rest of the day consists of just trying to keep your head above water. Before you know it, it's late as fuck and you have realized that you've done literally nothing that was on your to-do list. But hey, you can try again tomorrow. Days on weeks, on months of the same shit, like Groundhog Day over and over again, leaves you burned out, stressed out, hating humanity, and probably hating yourself. Sound familiar? Maybe not, but if it even sounds remotely familiar, that's what we're going to dig into next, how to live a life that is not that. The foundation of this beautiful new life that you're about to have depends on just like a teeny bit of discipline from you. From the time you wake up and you hit freaking off on that alarm clock, do not pick up your phone. Do not touch your phone. Don't check texts. Don't check calls. Don't check your freaking DMs on Instagram. None of that shit. You're going to get up. You're going to start making your coffee that you prepped the night before, and you're going to get into a Zen space. Normally, what agents do is they pick up their phone and immediately start reacting. Anything that happened overnight that's a fire, you're trying to put it out and you're going crazy without ever thinking about what's most important in your entire world. So, step 1 is think. What are the most important things that I need to focus on today to make sure my business moves forward in the right direction? Then, within those areas, break it down to the smallest, clearest, most concise, actionable steps possible, and add that shit to your to-do list. Remember, clarity is power. The bigger the task is on your to-do list, the less likely that you're actually going to do it. For example, if I put create a marketing plan on my to-do list, dude, what the fuck does that even mean? Whereas if I put create one story about a book I'm reading on Instagram, or if I write out one Facebook post, now that's doable. Like I can do that today. So if the task is unclear, you'll never do it and you won't even realize why. You'll just keep kicking that shit down the road and then look back and be like, I've done it again, haven't done shit. Now that you've zenned out and you've actually thought about what is most important, you're finally allowed to touch your phone. At this point, you need to systematically go through each one of your media sources, not email. We'll do that next. By media sources, I mean texts, phone calls, voicemails, Instagram DMs, Facebook DMs, any comments that you might have missed replying to. And basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to gather all of the inquiries and things that you missed over the past 24 hours. As you are going through these, you're going to reply instantly to the easy ones. You're going to add it to your to-do list if it's a hard one. Okay, easy is what you can reply to in 2 minutes or less. Hard is if it'll take longer than 2 minutes. By the end of this step, you should not have any inquiries missing or hidden or lost. Nothing is falling through the cracks. And everything is either handled or added to your to-do list and you know exactly where it is. Pro tip, if you wish you had more items that could be categorized as easy, dude, they can be. Almost all of them can be categorized as easy, AKA you can knock them out quickly. But this relies on you creating a system of template responses, which I'm going to give a whole class on that later because it will literally change your entire world. Time for step 3. This is your emails. And this is the same concept as with the media. So you're going to go through your emails and reply instantly to any easy ones, and any hard ones that take longer than 2 minutes, you're either going to add the task to your to-do list, or you're going to take that email and you're going to flag it so you know to do it later, and you're going to categorize it so that way you know when to do it later within the appropriate time block. Time blocking is key, and we're going to dig into that more with step 4, which is calendar. Email organization is absolutely imperative if you're an agent, like literally non-negotiable. If you say stuff gets lost in your email, you need to take the time to figure out your emails system and make it work for you. I was in the Army for 6 years, so I personally use Outlook for everything. And I love it because you can flag items, you can categorize them, you can set reminders, etc. But all of these email providers these days have those sort of capabilities, and it's just on you about figuring it out. You have to figure out your email, period. So with an email, you can access it really well from your computer. And with your computer, you can type, which in theory is a ton faster. And you can also set up a separate monitor, which will make you highly efficient. If you do not have a separate monitor and use a mouse, then I'm so sorry, guys. Like, that's actually step 1. Like, forget everything that I've said so far. You need to get a separate monitor and a mouse if you want to be highly effective in your business. Trust me, try it, give it a chance, and you'll see. Because I love email best, this is the place where I personally consolidate all of my extra miscellaneous shit. So hypothetically, when someone messages me on Instagram and it's a hard task, or if I get a text from a new lead per se, there's the mark as unread feature on a lot of these programs, but I don't count on that. What I do personally is I take a screenshot of that inquiry and I email it to myself, because I know that if it's in my email, I can flag it and I will never lose it. Having a single source in which you consolidate all of your different inquiries is, again, imperative if you want to make sure things don't fall through the cracks. Yo, at this point, you were feeling so good. You had a Zen morning. You know exactly what is most important in your entire business to focus on. You've gone through all of your media, all of your email. You have a freaking good grasp on your own reality. And now it's time for step 4, which is calendar. Pull up your calendar. You're going to be looking for appointments. Duh. So you're looking at your appointments for today, anything that's happening tomorrow, next week, and the following week. And you are pulling out the tasks that are associated with each one of those appointments. For instance, you have a listing appointment tomorrow. You probably need to add to your to-do list for today to do some analysis on that shit so you know what you're talking about. Or maybe in 2 weeks, you're hosting a buyer seminar for some lead gen, and you're responsible for like presenting something. So maybe you need to pull out the task to prep for that event or create slides. So you can probably see how your calendar is really instrumental in building out a holistic to-do list for yourself. And what you'll quickly realize is that your calendar is not just a place for appointments, but also it's a place for planning and for freaking working. So what I mean by that is each one of these tasks that you just pulled out, it takes time. And if you don't integrate that into your calendar by time blocking to actually knock out that task, your day can easily be filled with just literally putting out those fires we talked about before. Which is why the calendar is one of my very favorite things. And one more note on the calendar, I rely heavily on reminders. So I know a lot of CRMs have really sophisticated reminder features, but let's just say hypothetically, you haven't time blocked the time to figure out your CRM. So in the meantime, you can use your calendar to set reminders for literally anything and everything. That new buyer that you just met at freaking Chick-fil-A, set a reminder to check in 3 days. Persistence wins literally every time. You guys have heard it. Follow up, follow up, follow up. It's king. But you can't follow up if you don't remember to, which is another great use for your calendar. And you're damn right if you think that my calendar's color coding matches the categories that are color coded in my email, obviously. Okay, so at this point, your to-do list probably looks just like a clusterfuck of madness, because what you've been doing the past 4 steps is just pulling a bunch of the madness and dropping it into one consolidated place, which is your to-do list. So now the fun begins, and that is organization. Start by organizing your to-do list. You do not start by doing anything on your to-do list, because if you immediately start doing things on that list out of order, you're probably going to pick the easiest thing to knock out first, just so you get a little hit of dopamine, and then realize that you can spend all day doing little bullshit that doesn't actually matter. And then at the end of the day, once again, you're like, man, I didn't get anything important done, but it's your fault. So we are going to pull out top priorities. Well, Shelby, what is a top priority? Great question. A top priority is anything that you thought about in step one during that time that you put aside to think about what is most important for you to focus on in your business. That's a top priority. Another top priority is anything that will bring you money in the next 30 days, anything that a relationship depends on, or anything that is time sensitive. For example, write the offer. Get back with that serious client who you promised you'd get something to, and make sure that they love you. Get the listing live. Those are examples of top priorities. Next is mid priorities. So these are things that will be hot tomorrow, the next day, or maybe next week. These are also anything that you need to be doing on the back end to make sure that your systems and business are better set up for the long run. Those things you know you should do, but you never have time for. Well, if you build the time for it into your calendar by time blocking, you'll find that suddenly you do have time put aside for exactly those actions. If you don't time block for those mid-priority activities, they'll never get done, because you can so easily just fill time with low priority items that don't really matter. Speaking of low priorities, these are the things that you probably shouldn't be doing. It's probably time to hire and to delegate. You're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I really want to, but I don't have the time to figure out what I need someone else to do and to train them. Freaking revert back to your mid priorities and time block it into your calendar. So now you have the dedicated time to execute that task. And one note on time blocks, you guys need to make sure that don't put anything on your calendar that you don't actually want or need to do, because then when the day comes and you see, man, I got a freaking shit ton of stuff to do today, and I time blocked to work on building out my CRM, you're going to want to instinctively delete that shit from your calendar. Don't do it. Respect your calendar and respect the time you put aside to build your business. Back to those priorities. So most of you are like, I don't think I can delegate that. Wrong. Anything that does not take your specific brain to do can be delegated. And let's pretend that you actually don't have any money to hire someone to begin delegating. Well, you can practice on your freebie team, which is what I like to call your attorney, your lender, your contractor, maybe the appraiser if they'll ever pick up, all these vendors who you don't specifically pay who are on your team. So what I found a lot of agents will do is that the good ones will take responsibility for everything, which is absolutely the right answer, extreme ownership all the way. However, the things that they should not be taking responsibility for are the things in which they're not the subject matter expert. So if your client is hitting you up and asking you a question about insurance, instead of spending an hour researching the answer, the correct answer would be to connect them with your freebie team and have your insurance provider do the legwork and take ownership of that answer. Not only is it going to free up a lot of your time, but also your client is going to get the best service. That insurance provider knows the answer way better than you ever would. And still on low priorities, some of the non-freebie team members that could be really good for your first couple hires are your runner, your marketing, bookkeeper, and then some random things that will buy you back a lot more time. Like personally, I love Instacart because then I don't have to go to the grocery store. I can order groceries and they end up at my house, which saves me a ton of time because my time is better spent somewhere else. And a lot of you guys are going to be like, that's really expensive. It's $99 for the entire year, as long as your orders are over $35. And sponsor me. Just kidding. So the point is delegate as much as you can early on and get that shit off your plate. One last thing on delegating, just because you sent the email or placed the request does not mean that it's done. We don't fire and forget. Don't send it and then forget about it. Because ultimately, whatever happens or fails to happen is because of you. It's on your shoulders. With that, I personally use my calendar. I send a request to a vendor and then I skip forward 24 or 48 hours and set a reminder to check in with that request to make sure it actually happened. You see how all these things kind of tie together? And now that I've gone on a total sidebar from your to-do list, let's move on. Now that you have your beautiful to-do list that is prioritized, top priority, mid-level, low, you have all of your information gathered from all of your different sources, it's time to set your day. And setting your day, appointments are first. There are hard times, you can't get around it. After that, you're left with the white space in which you can fill with your top priority tasks. And then if you have time, probably won't, then you can fill in with your mid-level tasks. One of the first things that you should do is you should take that entire chunk of low-level priorities and delegate them, because the idea is you want your team to be working at the same time that you are. So you guys are churning out highly productive. The low priority shit is getting taken care of. Your appointments and your high priority shit is getting taken care of. Voila. So at this point, there's nothing left to do except for freaking get to work. You've already gone through everything that you need to be focusing on. You know exactly what to do and when to do it. There's no time to fuck around. As you work offline as much as humanly possible. I'm talking your phone on do not disturb mode, not even vibrate. Like keep that shit on silent. And actually, pro tip, you should move it out of the room that you're working in, because that visual pull will actually distract you. Like I'm not kidding. And then with emails, send receive later. Don't let those new emails come in and ping, 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 distract you. Turn that shit off. And then once an hour, allow yourself to refresh, assess everything that came in, and then go from there. If it is an absolute emergency, you either delegate it, hopefully, or you can add it to your list in order of priority. If it is not an absolute emergency, that shit is reassessed tomorrow morning. Yo, this shit is hard. Like it takes a ton of discipline and like, yeah, it's freaking hard. But you know what's also hard is getting nothing done every single day, is being distracted and not making progress towards your goals. So you pick your pain, man. Things to avoid. 1, don't mess with your schedule once you've set it. You've set it for a reason. You've already thought through all the things. Now attack. 2, rabbit holing. Done is better than perfect. And this is a really hard one for a lot of people to swallow, but that last remaining 10 or 20% that you're putting into a product that no one's probably going to read anyway, doesn't matter. Get it done, move on. The last one is all or nothing mentality. So everything that we just talked about today, I mean, it's a lot. And let me promise you, you will fall off. Like, dude, I fall off a lot. It's all about freaking picking up right where you fell off and keep going. Also, all the freaking good books out there like Atomic Habits or Peak Performance or The Compound Effect. So those are the books that tell you that 1% incremental change is what's going to affect you over time. So make sure that you go into all of these things with that mentality where it's like, yeah, this could be a huge change for me, but maybe if I pick one thing and commit to it, and make it a habit in my world. And then once it's ingrained into my being, then I pick one more thing and add it. Those little steps is what's going to be everything for you.